Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us here at the Success Talks magazine. Today we're going to be taking a look at interior design,
Mm.
specifically the story and insights of Nicole Zarr and her firm.
Nicole Zarr and
Yeah.
Associates?
We got a hold of a questionnaire that she filled out for a potential magazine profile, and we thought it would be a great opportunity to really dig into what makes her and her firm so successful.
Yeah, we often see the glamorous side of interior design, but this questionnaire really gives us like a peek behind the curtain, at the journey of the business savvy and the design philosophies that really go into creating a thriving firm.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that really jumped out at me was Nicole's unique origin story. She didn't just start her firm from scratch. She actually took over the family business Triangle Interiors after her mother's passing in 1997.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a challenge inheriting a business under those circumstances. I mean, it's one thing to start from scratch, but to step into a role like that after a loss, you're dealing with grief and you're also carrying on a legacy.
Definitely. And you can see that resilience in how she's evolved the company.
Hmm.
After 22 years, she rebranded to Nicole Zarr Associates in 2019,
Hmm.
which to me signals a real shift, a growth in her vision for the firm.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's not just a name change.
Right.
That's a savvy business move.
Yeah.
And it reflects her understanding of how her clients' needs have evolved and how the design landscape itself has changed.
Yeah. And she really expanded her service offerings too. It's not just interior design anymore.
Yeah.
It's home styling, construction consulting, and even art consulting.
Yeah, it's like she's creating this complete curated lifestyle experience for her clients. It's not just about decorating rooms, it's about creating a whole aesthetic, a whole feel.
Absolutely. And she describes her design philosophy as current but classic,
Mhm.
with a knack for layering pattern and color. Now, I'm not a design expert,
Mhm.
so break that down for me a little bit. What does layering pattern and color actually look like in a room?
Sure. Think of it as like a symphony of textures, colors, patterns. It's about creating visual interest and depth, making a space feel rich and layered without being overwhelming. So you might have a bold geometric print mixed with a subtle floral, and then grounding those with some solid colors, and then adding texture through different fabrics like, velvet linen wool, things like that.
So it's about finding that balance between vibrancy and harmony.
Exactly, exactly. And that's how she achieves that current but classic aesthetic that she's known for, incorporating current trends, but in a way that feels timeless so that it's not going to look dated in a few years.
And this layering, this balance, probably plays a huge role in how she reflects her clients' lifestyles and personalities in her work, which is something she really emphasizes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not about imposing her own style on her clients. It's about really listening to their needs, understanding their aesthetic preferences, and how they use their space. Are they someone who entertains a lot? Are they more private? Do they have kids? All of these things factor into the
It's
design.
a true collaboration.
It is.
Yeah.
And here's something else that really stood out to me. She said that she never duplicates fabrics or reproduces styles for different projects.
Wow, really?
Yeah, each design is unique, a true reflection of the individual client, which really speaks to her commitment to creating something special and tailored to each person.
That's incredible. So how does this actually play out in her design process? Where does she even begin with a new client?
Well, she starts with a pre-meeting questionnaire, which is a great way to get a sense of the client's tastes, their lifestyle. And then she encourages them to bring inspiration pictures to the table. So right from the start, it's a very collaborative process.
I love that. I bet that makes clients feel so much more empowered and heard. Like they're really part of the creative process.
Absolutely. It's not about dictating, it's about working together.
Mhm.
And then she walks the property with the client too, helping them decide what existing items to keep, what they might want to repurpose, or maybe even let go of. Well,
Well, that's a good point. Because people often have things in their homes that they're attached to for sentimental reasons. Or maybe they just haven't thought about how to use them differently.
right. And that's where her expertise comes in. She can see the potential in a piece that the client might have overlooked. And she's also honest about what's not working, which is so important for building trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the inspiration in the process, but every entrepreneur faces obstacles.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest challenges Nicole has had to overcome in her career?
Well, she actually highlighted three main obstacles. And these are challenges that I think resonate with a lot of entrepreneurs, especially women in business.
Okay, let's hear them.
The first one is the constant struggle for work-life balance. I mean, how do you pour your heart into your business without sacrificing your personal well-being? It's a question we all grapple with.
Oh, definitely. And I imagine it's even more complex when you've inherited a business. Like in Nicole's case, there's the added weight of carrying on a legacy and potentially the pressure of measuring up to her mother's success.
Absolutely. And then there's the challenge of dealing with clients who might not always understand or trust the design process.
That's true. You're dealing with people's personal tastes, their homes, their budgets. Sometimes it can be tricky to navigate those waters.
Right. Sometimes you have to be a bit of a therapist as well as a designer. But despite these challenges, it's clear that Nicole Zarr and Associates has reached some incredible milestones.
Yeah, 26 years of success.
Yeah.
And they've been featured in various publications. That's amazing. And it's a real testament to their resilience and their talent.
Absolutely. So how does Nicole stay ahead of the curve in such a fast-paced industry?
Well, she's a proactive learner. She attends major industry events like Paris Deco Off and the Milan Furniture Fair.
Oh, wow. Those are like the Super Bowls of the design world. What an incredible opportunity to see the latest trends, the new materials and techniques.
Exactly. And she doesn't just attend events. She's constantly reading publications, both old and new, absorbing inspiration and knowledge from different eras and perspectives.
So she's not just following trends, she's anticipating them. Precisely. She's able to spot those emerging patterns and predict what's going to be big before it even hits the mainstream.
Wow, that's impressive. So what's next for Nicole and her firm? What's on the horizon?
Well, she shared one particular aspiration that I found really exciting. She hopes to collaborate with a textile house in the future.
Oh, wow. Now that's interesting. Why is that such a significant goal for someone like Nicole?
Well, I think it speaks to her desire to expand her creative reach. Imagine designing a custom line of fabrics inspired by her signature aesthetic.
Oh, I can see it now. Bold patterns, rich textures, that timeless yet contemporary feel woven into the very fabric itself. That's amazing.
Exactly. But it goes beyond just aesthetics. Collaborating with a textile house would give her access to their expertise, their production capabilities, and their established network within the industry.
So it's a win-win situation. She brings her unique vision to the table, and they bring the resources and the infrastructure to make it a reality.
Precisely. And it could open up new markets and collaborations, potentially reaching a global audience. It's the power of strategic partnerships.
I love it. Speaking of partnerships, I have to ask about her approach to work-life balance, because her answer to that question was rather intriguing. She said, "Wine and I never sleep."
Ah, yes. A little bit of humor. But also, I think a glimpse into the realities of running a design business. It's demanding, it's detail-oriented, and often it requires late nights and juggling multiple projects.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even for those at the top of their game, finding that balance between passion and personal time is a constant challenge.
Exactly. Even if it's just a glass of wine at the end of a long day.
Yeah.
Finding those moments to unwind and recharge is crucial.
Absolutely. But beyond wine, what are some of her core beliefs about success? What wisdom did she share that really resonated with you?
One thing that really stood out to me was her emphasis on kindness. She said, be kind to everyone. You never meet a stranger.
I love that. It's such a simple but powerful philosophy.
It is. And it's especially important in a field like design where relationships are everything. She also stressed the importance of professionalism. Always dress for success. Be transparent in your dealings.
It's about showing up as your best self.
Exactly. And she talked about the importance of having a strong support system, surrounding yourself with people who believe in you, who can offer advice and encouragement. That's essential, especially during those challenging times.
Absolutely. So for those aspiring to start their own interior design businesses, what advice does Nicole have to offer?
Well, she really stressed the importance of building a strong team.
Okay, that makes sense. Having the right people in place can make or break a business.
Exactly. And she emphasized recognizing bad hires early on.
Oh, that's key. But how do you do that? How do you spot those red flags early on? Especially when you're just starting out and maybe you don't have a lot of experience hiring people.
It's about paying attention to more than just the resume. She said, look at their attitude, their communication style, how they interact with others. Do they take ownership of their work? Are they eager to learn and grow? Do they align with your company culture?
Those are great points. It's not just about skills. It's about finding people who share your vision and your values.
Exactly. And beyond team building, she also emphasized the practicalities of running a business, staying organized, creating systems that work, and not letting the inevitable chaos overwhelm you.
Organization is key in any business, but especially in interior design. I imagine there are so many moving parts, so many details to keep track of.
Oh, absolutely. And she didn't shy away from the challenges of dealing with difficult clients either.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. How do you balance advocating for your design vision while still ensuring client satisfaction, especially when those two things might seem at odds?
It's a delicate dance. It requires clear communication, setting realistic expectations from the start, and
Right.
knowing when to compromise and when to stand your ground.
Yeah, it's about finding that sweet spot where you're honoring your creative vision, but also respecting the client's needs and preferences.
Exactly. And I love this quote that she shared. We're not curing cancer. We're picking fabrics and furniture.
Uh-huh. It's a good reminder to keep things in perspective.
It is. It's easy to get caught up in the stresses of the job and lose sight of the bigger picture.
So true. So she's clearly learned a lot over her 26 years in the business. What are some of the things that she wished she knew when she first started out?
Well, she candidly admitted that she underestimated the 247 nature of running a business, particularly in the early stages.
That's a common mistake.
Yeah.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs romanticize the idea of being their own boss. But the reality is, it often requires a significant investment of time and energy, especially in the beginning.
And she even humorously acknowledged how much her mother managed without the modern conveniences of cell phones and email.
That's hilarious. It's amazing to think about how much the world has changed in just a few decades.
It is. But beyond the time commitment, Nicole also emphasized the importance of being prepared for setbacks. She acknowledged that there will be bumps along the road, and that's perfectly normal.
Yeah, it's easy to get discouraged when things don't go as planned. But it's important to remember that setbacks are an inevitable part of the journey.
Exactly. It's not about avoiding setbacks altogether, but about developing the resilience to navigate them and come out stronger on the other side.
That's such a powerful message. And it's something that applies to any field, not just interior design.
Absolutely. It's about embracing the challenges and knowing that with hard work, determination, and a bit of creativity, you can overcome anything.
And maybe a little wine along the way.
Yeah.
But before we raise a glass, I think it would be helpful to unpack Nicole's advice for aspiring entrepreneurs a bit further.
Great idea. Let's delve deeper into her insights and see what practical tips we can glean from her experience.
Sounds like a plan. We'll be right back after a short break to explore the nuts and bolts of starting an interior design business, straight from the playbook of Nicole Zarr herself.
Welcome back to this deep dive with the Success Talks. Before we move on, I wanted to touch on something Nicole said about recognizing those bad hires early on. It's something that she really emphasized.
Yeah, it makes sense, especially in a creative field like interior design.
Yeah,
One person who's not a good fit can really throw off the whole dynamic.
absolutely. And it can be tough, especially when you're first starting out. You're so eager to build a team, but it's so important to be selective.
So how do you actually spot those red flags early on, beyond just looking at a resume? What are some things our listeners should be paying attention to?
Well, Nicole talked about really observing a potential hire's attitude, their communication style, how they interact with the team. It's not just about their skills.
So it's about how they use those skills within a group dynamic.
Exactly. Are they a team player? Do they take ownership of their work? Are they eager to learn and grow? Do they fit the overall vibe of your company?
That's a great point. You want to create a cohesive and positive work environment.
Absolutely. And that brings me to another point that Nicole made, which is the importance of staying organized.
Oh yeah, organization is key in any business.
Yeah.
But especially when you're dealing with the kind of details and moving parts that are involved in interior design.
Exactly. You're juggling multiple projects, clients with different tastes, suppliers, contractors. It can get really chaotic really fast.
So what's Nicole's approach? Does she have any systems or tips that our listeners can use to stay on top of everything?
The questionnaire didn't go into specifics, but she emphasized that having systems in place is absolutely crucial. You have to be organized.
Right. It's like designing a room. Every element has its place and everything flows together beautifully.
Exactly. It's the same principle for a business.
I love that. So we've talked about the importance of building a strong team, staying organized. But let's talk about the clients, because Nicole was very honest about the challenges of dealing with difficult clients.
Oh, yeah. That's the age-old struggle, isn't it? It's one thing to design for a magazine spread. It's another thing entirely to navigate personal tastes and budgets and sometimes, unrealistic expectations.
Definitely. So how does she handle that tension? How do you balance staying true to your artistic vision while still making sure the client is happy?
Well, from what I gathered from the questionnaire, it's about clear communication. It's
right.
about setting those boundaries early on and knowing when to stand your ground and when to compromise.
Yeah, it's a delicate dance.
It is. You have to be able to advocate for your design choices, but also be willing to listen to the client's feedback and find solutions that work for both of you.
It's like those design shows where they
Mhm.
have to incorporate the homeowner's weird antique into this like sleek modern space.
Exactly. You have to find a way to make it work. But remember what Nicole said? We're not curing cancer. We're picking fabrics and furniture.
Uh-huh. That's a good one. It's easy to lose perspective sometimes.
It really is. And I think that's a good reminder for all of us, you know, to not sweat the small stuff.
It's so true. So we know she's learned a lot over her 26 years in the business. What are some of the things that she wished she knew when she first started out?
Well, she was very candid about the 2047 nature of the job, especially in those early years, you know. That hustle culture can be romanticized, but it's important to go in with your eyes open.
It's a reality check for anyone who's thinking of starting their own business. You have to be passionate, but you also have to be prepared to put in the work.
Absolutely. And she even joked about how her mother managed to run the business without cell phones or email, you know, back in the day.
It's amazing how much technology has changed the way we work.
It really is. But sometimes I wonder if we're always better off for it. You know? It's harder to disconnect these days.
That's true.
Mm,
But technology can also be a huge asset when it's used effectively.
absolutely. But beyond the time commitment, and Nicole also talked about the importance of being prepared for setbacks.
Yeah, it's easy to get discouraged when things don't go as planned.
It is. But it's important to remember that setbacks are inevitable. You know, they're part of the journey.
So it's not about avoiding setbacks altogether, but about learning how to bounce back from them.
Exactly. It's about developing that resilience, that ability to adapt and keep moving forward.
That's a powerful message.
Yeah.
And I think it applies to any field, really.
It does.
Yeah,
You know, life is full of challenging, and it's how we respond to those challenges that defines us.
absolutely.
Mhm.
So speaking of responding to challenges, let's talk about Nicole's ambition to collaborate with a textile house.
Oh, yeah, that's exciting. I think it speaks to her desire to take her creative vision to the next level.
It's like she's saying, I've mastered creating beautiful spaces. Now I want to create the very materials that go into those spaces.
Exactly. And it's a smart business move, too. You know, that kind of collaboration could open up so many doors for her.
It could introduce her work to a whole new audience.
Absolutely. And it's a win-win situation. You know,
Yeah.
she gets to work with experts in the textile industry, and they get to benefit from her unique design aesthetic.
So it's a perfect example of how strategic partnerships
Yeah.
can really elevate a business.
It is. But let's not forget the human element here. You know, Nicole's emphasis on kindness, on genuine connection, on building a strong support system. Those are valuable lessons regardless of your field.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to ask our listeners, what's resonating with you? What's standing out as a key takeaway from Nicole's story?
Is it her design philosophy, her business acumen, her personal resilience, or maybe it's something else entirely?
We want to hear from you.
Yes.
So take a moment, reflect on her journey, and see what nuggets of wisdom you can apply to your own life. Welcome back, everyone. It's been so interesting exploring the world of Nicole Zarr and her firm.
It really has. You know, we've talked about her design philosophy, her business savvy, but one thing that keeps coming back to me is her resilience.
Absolutely. You know, starting a business is never easy, but inheriting one after a loss and then navigating all the changes in the industry, that takes a special kind of strength.
Definitely. And you can see that strength in everything she does, from the way she approaches challenges to her unwavering commitment to her clients.
And her advice for aspiring entrepreneurs was spot on. Building a strong team, staying organized, recognizing bad hires early on, those are all crucial pieces of the puzzle.
Oh, absolutely. And I think her emphasis on communication really resonated with me. You know, whether you're dealing with clients, contractors, or your own team, being able to communicate clearly and effectively is so important.
It's the foundation of any successful relationship, really.
It is. And, you know, we talked about the challenges of dealing with difficult clients, but Nicole's approach is so refreshing. It's not about winning or losing. It's about finding solutions that work for everyone.
And sometimes that means having those tough conversations, but always with respect and understanding.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
think her quote about not curing cancer, you know, it's a great reminder to keep things in perspective.
It is. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day stresses. But at the end of the day, we're creating beautiful spaces that bring people joy.
That's what it's all about. And speaking of joy, Nicole's ambition to collaborate with a textile house. That's a really exciting next step for her.
It is. I can't wait to see what she creates.
Me too. You know, it's clear that she's not content to rest on her laurels. She's always looking for new ways to grow and evolve.
And that's what makes her such an inspiration. You know, she's proof that that you can be successful without sacrificing your integrity or your creativity.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. What resonated with you most from Nicole's story? What lessons can you apply to your own journey?
Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned designer, or simply someone who appreciates beautiful spaces, we hope you found something to inspire you in Nicole Zarr's journey.
Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep those creative sparks flying.
See you next time.